Oh, well, you guys know what time it is. It's
What time
stream
is it?
time.
Yay! My favorite time.
And welcome everybody to Mildly Heroic special announcement stream, complete with the snow left over from the Christmas holiday special stream. Because I didn't want to make any new assets, so there you go.
It's still snowing here in Pennsylvania. Well, it was icing, but...
It is. And we have a special new member with us today. Now, I almost said guest, but joining Mildly Heroic
No,
is...
not a guest.
I will let you guys introduce our new member because he's your friend especially, and I've just met him today.
Yeah, so
I'll let Sarah introduce him.
If I point down, I think he's below me.
It is.
So-
Yes, I require an introduction.
Okay, so this is Brandon. He will be joining Mildly Heroic. Brandon has been gaming with some of us for quite a while, so I've talked several times on our streams about GMing Rise of the Runelords, and Brandon is in my Rise of the Runelords game, and he also was part of the original group that started Pathfinder with Josh as GM, which we've also talked about once in a while. Fond memories of those days when, fun fact, Kieran was my very first character, and that's how Josh knew him and Jason knew him.
Yeah, I think I have made fun of that whole time multiple occasions. Terrible DMing. Good players. I have to say that was one good thing. We all stuck together through it, so that was good.
Yeah, for being our very first role-playing group, it was fun, and it was a jumping off point, and we had a good time.
I think so.
However, if you name one of the classic do not do things, we probably did that.
All of them.
Yeah,
All of them.
absolutely did.
GMPC happened.
Happened. Yep, he was there. He was chilling.
Super broody sorcerer,
Solo.
edgelord.
Not just an edgelord. A lone wolf, dare I say.
Oh, but we also had one of those, Jason's character, who just wanted to go do her own thing.
Two lone wolves. Two lone wolves. To be fair, there wasn't much of a main narrative to latch onto, so that's also rushing in with homebrew instead of just learning an AP and doing that. It's way easier.
Realistically, that group would have gotten through the first set of encounters and then completely gone different ways.
Completely done their own thing. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. But those days are behind us. Now we are upon new days for Visions of Phaendar, the Mildly Heroic thing. I think I'll pass it back to someone else to announce that news.
I guess I can be the one to make this announcement because it's kind of spawned from a decision I've had to make. So to those of you listening in the podcast or watching in the stream later, I'm having to drop out of Mildly Heroic, at least for a season, to focus on other things in life, lifestyle changes, to just improve mental health. And anybody who knows me knows that I'm a very empathetic person to a fault. And as a result of that, when I act or do role playing, I take it a bit too far, I think, in my own psyche, and I don't compartmentalize well. And it was just becoming too much for me personally. So as much as I enjoyed everything about it, it's nothing personal with anybody in this group. It's just my own personal growth that I want to work on in this time. And everybody's been so graciously patient with me in that regard. And it just happened to work out super well that Brandon was really wanting to get in on this. So he's going to be taking up the mantle of the other player that is going to be filling in my spot there. So, and as a result of that, that's why we have this new campaign going on. Module.
Right, so as part of that segue, we haven't explained it yet. I think, Sarah, why don't you go ahead and take that?
Yeah, so kind of just to work on the new group cohesion and to kind of, you know, work our way in back into Ironfang. We're going to take a little bit of a break, and I'm actually going to GM a module that I picked up around Christmas time.
Nice.
Wasn't planning on running it this quickly, but the opportunity arose, so I will take it and run with it. The module is called Ire of the Storm, and it's going to be backwards on here, but basically it is a module where you start at first level, and over the course of the module you will level up to at least 5th level, and the expectation is that you'll hit 6th level kind of right at the end. So you don't really play at 6th level all that much. You will play through 5th level and then hopefully be level 6 at the end, with the intention that, you know, should we wish to continue on and do a module that starts at 6th level, we could feasibly take whatever characters we have at the end and just kind of move into another module and go from there.
And I don't think we haven't exactly talked yet if are we planning on doing that all the way through to level 5 and then jumping back in later, or how much of the book were you hoping to run, basically?
I was gonna do start to finish.
I thought we were all in agreement on that, but I wasn't sure if anybody was like itching to get back to Ironfang. So for the next little while, we will be doing a completely new campaign, completely new cast, new series. So I think it's going to be really exciting because we refer to them as the Lost Annals. But it's funny, we have 3 sessions that we did for Ironfang prior that never got recorded. I thought were really, really, really good. So I'm excited to hop into a new campaign with no content or gap between audience and player knowledge. Not that Ironfang has suffered very much for that gap, but I'm excited to jump into something new, and I think it's going to be good. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. So kind of off of that, we'll be talking a little bit about characters, and Josh and Justin are still building their characters, but before we kind of move on to something else, I did just want to go through real quickly what we did for characters for this module, which is a little bit different. It
Very
started
fun.
off kind of with a joke to Jason, where he had mentioned to me how he kind of wanted to roll for a character for a race and class just to see what he would end up with.
Oh, wow.
And so that got me thinking, hey, what if I put together a table of races and classes and we just rolled a D100 and kind of changed it up a little bit to give it some different rules. And what we ended up with was, we did a few practice runs with Jason. We were like, he rolled a druid like 4 times in a row. And I said, all right, I got to come up with something so that this doesn't keep happening.
The main issue is that I'm currently playing an investigator for Rise of the Runelords. I rolled investigator 3 times, no less than 3 times. And I think I rolled some of the other classes that I've played before. Like, I was constantly rolling repeats. So,
So after
So-
some home rules were filled in to accommodate that.
Yep, basically on this table I created, which has some races and classes that I wouldn't normally allow per se. I kind of modified the ranges to sort of fit with the setting. So certain classes, for example, like the occultist, I just threw in the occultist for 100. So if somebody rolled a 100 on a D100, that was an option. And so what they did was they could roll 3 D100s for race, 3 D100s for class, and then choose any combination of those races and class as their character. So we'll get into that a little bit more, but I didn't know if there was anything else we wanted to chat about before we kind of got into Ire of the Storm. I know Andrew had some stuff, some residual stuff from Ironfang Invasion that I don't know if he was going to do a song for us or not, but I know he did have a couple of, or at least one song that you didn't get to in the actual campaign, if you wanted to do it for us.
Sure. I actually thought that might be a good way to cap off the stream whenever we're done.
Okay.
Discussing characters or talking about, if we could reflect on the mildly heroic Visions of Phaendar campaign if we want, or answer any questions on Twitch. If anybody hops on, we'll see what happens. And then I figured I'd round off the night singing the one you guys haven't heard yet. and or revisiting any songs like the Ode to Elwood if we wanted to to close it
My
out
favorite.
as a bookend.
That's actually made it to my music playlist and the playlist. My siblings and I, we have like a shared playlist on Spotify that we can all like add songs, and we keep it updated with stuff. And the Ballad of Elwood has made that list, so I frequently
I'm honored.
indulge.
Ulrit would be thrilled.
To be fair, it's probably just part of my ego and narcissism, but you should take a lot of credit for that.
Hey, Ulrit won't shy away from any attention.
That's true. That's true. In that case, I should probably pull up roll 20 because unlike everyone else, I have not gotten started at all. I've been super busy at work, but we finally did, like I said to these guys earlier, finished all of that up, so I've got plenty of time to start.
While you're pulling that
making
up,
a character.
Sarah, what made you decide to pick Ire of the Storm specifically?
Ooh, that's a great question.
That is a good question. So Paizo was having a sale before Christmas, and I knew I wanted to buy something because why wouldn't you want to buy something? So I was looking through, and Jason actually bought the Hell's Rebels full adventure path, which, oh man, someday, years in the future, maybe we'll get to that one.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that one's super exciting, especially because I don't know anything about it really. To be fair, I didn't really know anything about Ironfang Invasion either, but there's just too many APs out there to play. Not enough time.
Oh man! All right, time to get the one I've been. Hopefully, we're gonna run someday. I'll grab that too.
I think I know which one Josh is grabbing.
Yeah.
Which
One of
Yeah.
these days. One of
would
these
be a
days.
great follow-up for Rise of the Runelords because
Oh, it would be so good.
it's basically it is the second one after Rise of the Runelords, isn't it?
It is the second one. It is the Curse of the Crimson Throne. Look at that anniversary edition. This isn't actually mine. A friend let me borrow it indefinitely. I'll get it back to him after I use it, but that might be years from now. We'll see.
It
But
will be years from now.
It will be years from now. It will be a while.
Decades even.
Yeah, it might be a decade. Probably a decade. But we'll get to that eventually.
Yeah. But anyway, back to Ire of the Storm. So I was browsing the Paizo material that they had on sale, and I was reading the reviews, and I do this periodically where I will just, Google what are some of the best Pathfinder modules and read what people have to say. And this particular module was one that was highly rated on the website. And it also intrigued me because it takes place in Sargava, which is in southern Galarian, which is way different from any setting that we've played in so far. We've done Varizia for Rise of the Runelords, and Ironfang Invasion, I think, is also Varizia. Is that right?
Ironfang Invasion is near Mathis.
Near Mathis. It technically borders Varizia, I think, over the Mindspin Mountains to the east.
Okay, I thought Varizia was the region, not like a country. I thought
Varizia is a country, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
Yeah,
I did
as
not
far
know
as
that.
I'm aware. But we are in, there is what's it called? So there's a region of the world that's like near Mathis, Multhune, Last Wall, and like that whole lake area, and it's got a name, and I can't remember it right now.
You're not thinking of the River Kingdoms, are you? Because that's
No,
not
those are not in Brevoy. That's
It's
yeah,
also
so.
not the Holds of Belkson.
No, the
No,
Holds of
those are
Belkzen
their own thing.
Their
Yeah.
own thing. They're very close to that region. They're very
Holds of
cool.
Belkson's border near Mathas to the north.
Yeah, to the north.
Yeah.
Oh.
So anyway, Sargava is southern Galarian, which is near the Mwangi Expanse. So think jungle, rainforest, kind of that setting. So I thought that would be exciting to do. And then starting at first level is refreshing because right now we're 8th level in Rise of the Runelords and it's getting stressful. And
Wow.
we just hit 5th level in Ironfang Invasion. So you start getting up to higher levels and it's a lot of fun, but it can get complicated, especially for GM. So going back to first level is a lot of fun and kind of a fresh start. And like I said, gives us a canvas to continue on to other modules should we choose.
With,
So that's kind
with-
of where that came
potentially
from.
recurring characters, which is exciting.
Mhm.
I'm personally really excited because we've done desert adventures, we've done classic fantasy. We haven't done a winter setting, but we absolutely have not gone to the jungles yet in any capacity in any of our games. So I am super, super, super excited for that, and so I've leaned into that side a lot for my character that I'm bringing in. So I think it's going to be a good time. Absolutely.
I'd like to hear a little bit from our newest member, Brandon. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself. How long have you been doing tabletop RPGs, and what are you looking forward to most about doing this next module? I know we talked a little bit in the Facebook chat about it, but I'd like to hear a little bit straight from you.
So I've been doing tabletop gaming for quite some time. Back when I was in high school, played a lot with my friends. We did older D&D, Vampires, Masquerade, White Wolf. We did Besom, so kind of an anime style. So we did a lot. Never like anything full blown. It was like a continual campaign. I feel like every time we met, we made new characters, and then we would just play them for like once or twice, and then somebody else would just come up with like a homebrew thing, and we would mess around. So it was a good time. So this is the first that I've actually had like a core group to play with for an extended campaign with a character we've played for quite some time. So it's a lot of fun. I'm excited for the new campaign, Eye of the Storm. As Sarah said, just to try something new. You know, at first, when I made my first character for Loose Rune Lords, I was really attached to it, and I didn't want them to die, and I wanted to keep them all the way to the end. But Jason and Sarah kind of broke me between just continually mocking me.
We broke you.
Yeah, so now it's nice to play something new, like to get something fresh. And
Yeah.
probably what I'm most looking forward to is getting a lot of crits or something in the game to make Sarah get all ragey. That's always fun. It's always a blast to see the green in the roll chat.
Well, it's funny, in this case, with her as a player, you should get used to seeing a lot of red. That tends to be the circumstance. Lots of natural ones.
Well, the
and
audience
stuff.
will be in for a treat to have somebody who actually knows how to play the game filling the gap that I'm leaving behind. And so that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing your guys' chemistry, and it's going to be good.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I know as much as you. Trust me, I get corrected a lot. But I'll try my best.
Did you know that you can do unlimited cantrips?
Yeah, everyone knows that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's hard to beat me in the ignorance game.
But I didn't know that there's certain cantrips wizards aren't supposed to get automatically, right,
Yes.
Sarah? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
started
the
off
rare
with
cantrips.
cantrips, and
hmm
somebody didn't let me try to scroll those and sell them either to make some extra gold on the side. That was disappointing.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, I'm pretty restrictive when it comes to fun stuff. So my players get frustrated.
You get that, but that's work you coming in too. Same with Nick, a guy from our other thing, is what you do at work. You're just very black and white, and it sometimes can ruin fun. So I just have to know now. I look at it where if I'm on the fence, like, can I do this or not? I just know to instinctively say no. So I get really surprised when sometimes you're like, oh no, that's fine. It's like, who am I talking to?
Yeah, if you haven't caught on, Brandon and I met originally because we work together. So
Nice.
we started off working in the same department probably 5 years ago at this point. And
Yeah.
it was funny because did you mention Halo or did I mention Halo?
I don't remember how the conversation.
I don't remember how it went, but Brandon just came running over and he said, "Did we just become best friends?" And from that point on, it was like, yes, we did.
That's
So
awesome.
we work together, so I bug her all day there, and then we have every other week our Rune Lords campaign. And then when I asked Jason about being interested in coming into Ironfang, because originally I couldn't think I could commit, and then just so happens now I'm helping to replace. But I was just surprised Sarah's okay with that, because I mean I don't know how much she'll have to put up with me throughout a weekly basis.
I guess I should clarify too. I don't see, an audience should not see Brandon as a replacement or just a fill-in. He is a new welcome addition to the team.
Yeah. We have talked about that.
For now, we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
We'll see what the future holds. We have talked about that though too, because Andrew has mentioned that it might become a possibility, down the line that he's interested in coming back or rejoining. We're going to be flexible with that, and Jason has even gone so far as to say that if need be, we'll play Ironfang Invasion with 5. We'll make whatever works, and it is a new addition. That's the right way to think about it. Hey, Justin, you're here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you've just been quiet. I just thought.
Trying to get this character started.
You
understand.
Good segue.
Like, you're there.
Let's talk new characters.
You understand.
Yeah. So first, let's see if you guys can remember what you even rolled and then what you chose. So let's start with Jason, just because I know he's put a lot of thought into this. He was the OG when it came to this module. He knew that I purchased it before anybody else did, and as soon as we talked about what it was, he was building a character, and he said, I think I want to play a barbarian for your module. Well, once we homebrewed this rolling to find your class and character, it just so worked out that his character idea wasn't that far off from what he ended up rolling. So Jason, if you want to take it away and kind of go through what you rolled, if you can remember, or just go right into the character that you chose.
I think I can remember some of the... So, I don't remember all of the options that I had for race, but I think the classes I had, the options were Wizard, Blood Rager, and Gunslinger. And I was going to go Gunslinger, so the races I think must have been Halfling, because I was going to go Halfling Gunslinger, I think.
Yep.
And Human... I can't remember
I
what
think
the
you had
third
Elf.
race was.
Because we talked
It
about
might have
Elf
been.
Wizard. Yeah.
Maybe.
I think you had
Maybe.
Elf. So kind of boring for the races because I
Yeah.
had a whole lot of
Yeah,
choices.
so I ended up going with Human Blood Rager because my idea was a Mwangi human barbarian, so it was pretty close to what I was going for. I didn't really need to change too much. And mine is already built, has been built for a while now. Although I have been kind of changing stuff around constantly. I just recently changed one of the feats around. But I think at this point we're good. We're done. I don't know how much detail we want to go in. I could read off the whole backstory and everything.
I'll leave that up to you. I'll leave that entirely up to you. So whatever you want to share, feel free. If you want stuff to come out in the game, then you only need to share what you're comfortable with.
Well, I've got it's only what, 5, 6, 7, 8 paragraphs?
Pages.
Do a dramatic reading for me. I think that I personally would appreciate that.
I didn't write it to be dramatically written, so read.
If
I
I knew
need
that
it in
was
a-
gonna come up, I was gonna have Morgan Freeman read mine because that way it would sound a lot better.
Yeah, I meant
Yeah.
to email him actually, but I forgot to CC him on the message. but-
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
well.
only to him, and I forgot to.
Josh
I work-
is the same person that he sends a message to with all emails just to make sure they got it.
Right. Yeah. Clearly, I work at an office.
That's how email works, Sarah.
I know how correspondence works. I went to school for that. I can send an email.
Yeah, I guess a summary is the idea for this guy. His name is Miyabe. He grew up as a member of the Baso tribe. I don't know if that's how you necessarily pronounce it, but that's how I'm pronouncing it. And he has charcoal black skin, and he's this massive guy. I think I have him at 7'3", 280 pounds. He's huge. And he's actually, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see what Josh's character ends up like. But the idea is that he is extraordinarily superstitious against magic. So he refuses to allow anyone to cast magic on him unless it is a tribal shaman. And miraculously, one of the options that Josh rolled, spoiler, was a shaman.
Yeah,
So
not
when-
even intentional. None of this was talked about ahead of time. This was just
No,
happened.
I had this idea way ahead, and then
yeah.
this was before anybody else had rolled, and I was like, I really
Anybody
hope
watching-
somebody rolls a shaman, because otherwise my guy is screwed.
Anybody watching the stream can see the picture that Jason chose to get a good idea.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Shredded, dude.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jason, I imagine that you were really trying to go as realistic, as close to real life as possible with the body type for your character. I'm assuming your own gains are what inspired this look.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's been telling me he's been going to the gym for the past month. now,
I
Two-
too am
two
7'3"
Yeah.
and have
Your
charcoal
beautiful
black skin.
charcoal black skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm excited to play this guy. I think it'll be fun. I'm changing up some so it probably won't be that much different than how Nyari was played as a Blood Rager because she conserved her rage.
Also, welcome to the stream,
Quite a lot.
Sammy. Yes, dang boy, he thick.
Hey, what's up? What's good? Welcome to the
One of the things that I hope will be fun to use is one of the feats that I took. I swapped it out for one of the ones that I originally was going to take. Is Bludgeoner. Basically, just lets me do non-lethal damage without a penalty.
Interesting.
My main
We
weapon
don't
is
see
a
that.
bludgeoning weapon, so
Yeah, we don't see that very often. Or wait,
Say
you
that
said non-lethal damage or bludgeoning damage?
I can deal non-lethal damage without a penalty if I'm using a bludgeoning weapon, which is my
I see.
primary weapon.
Okay.
I don't. One thing I'm not 100% sure. So I have the option of getting natural attacks that deal bludgeoning and slashing. I don't know if that means I can choose to deal non-lethal because they deal bludgeoning, or if I can't because they also deal slashing. I'm not sure how that works yet.
We'll figure that one out.
It'll probably be up to my call, so
Yeah,
I'll think about it.
Just call
Probably.
backhands every time you roll it. Just say this is a backhand.
Yeah. It's an unarmed strike, right? Yeah, so you just do whatever
Yeah, I
you
mean
want.
that's one of the things that I don't like about natural attacks is that they just do all of the damage types for some reason. For some inane reason, they do all
Some
of
of them do. Some of them do. Like bites do all of
Like
them.
a bite, I feel like should just do piercing. That's the one that makes the most sense. Claws should do slashing.
I could even see slashing
hooves-
on a bite. But bludgeoning, what are you gonna do? Nuzzle it with your nose? Like, I don't understand.
I mean,
why-
you are crushing down on it, but still, I feel like the piercing side.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just me.
It doesn't matter, and it's mostly because to help monsters, really, to get a diverse range of attacks. I'm sure it's got to do with early iterations of the game and balancing PCs versus creatures that you're fighting. I'm sure that's got some history there. I'll have to look into that someday.
Maybe, but in the current iteration of Pathfinder,
Make a whole lot of-
PCs don't generally get damage reduction against specific things.
Right, exactly. So I'm sure it might be a carryover. There's a couple of things like that, though, that are kind of fun to see, like carryovers from 3.5 that just don't actually make sense for Pathfinder, but are still there. And other things that got cut out, obviously. But yeah, I think your character's really cool. I am excited.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. It'll be interesting to see another Blood Rager in action.
The
Going
accent's
a
going to be
different route.
atrocious.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Well, I have to play all these
Ooh, it's gonna be
NPCs.
bad.
And just full disclosure, if you've listened to Ironfang Invasion, sometimes accents just leak from my mouth. When I try to do them on purpose, doesn't work well. So we'll see how that
We'll
goes. We'll see how the accents go, and if I butcher them, I'm not doing it on purpose. Really not. But yeah, so that'll be fun. He's gonna do a different flavor in a Blood Rager than what Nyari was, whatever. So I'm curious to see how that will play out, and if he can survive to be 5th level as she currently is.
Probably not, because I did my Blood Rager the normal way. I gave Nyari the option of going like using chained or unchained rage, so that you didn't just die when you fell out of it.
no.
But I'm doing the normal one, so if I go unconscious, I have a very high chance of just outright going into -50 and dying.
I look forward to it.
So I think I'm the next best springboard off of that since our characters are related. Unfortunately, I have not written any of the backstory or collaborated as much as I would like to. But in quick
Or
detail,
built any of the character.
no, yeah, nothing. But I do have the idea. I do have it settled on what I'll be doing. I remember being really excited about Sarah's chart of available races because, like she mentioned earlier, there was some crazy stuff on there that like she would never normally let me play. So I was really hoping I'd get something like an Undyne or like an Orin or something.
I got an Undyne.
Yeah, like something
For
amazing.
backup.
Yeah, there was a Ripley option even. I'm like, I could be a frog person, but no. No, I rolled 3 races.
Ribbit.
All of them core races. So I got halfling, dwarf, and half elf. And I was like, oh my gosh, how boring. But thankfully, I can't remember what the other 2 classes are that I rolled, although I do think they were also core. I lucked out getting a shaman, which I was really interested in because for the longest time, I've been planning on playing a oracle. And I've just never really had a campaign where that character would fit. And then this one, I think a shaman would do well. So they're kind of the same vein. So I feel like I'm tapping into that a little bit. So
This
I'm really
is,
excited.
Josh's
figure out the direction
character on
it
the
goes.
stream, those watching right now.
Yeah.
And
My
Josh, fun fact, you rolled a paladin, an
Oh, yeah.
oracle, or a shaman. So you rolled
Right.
all divine casters.
All divine. I remember now. All divine casters. I technically had played a paladin before, but not really because I don't think playing a character for a round counts. But that was fun. And then I got to do the other 2, and I went with shaman because I thought it fit the campaign better, and they're kind of a similar flavor to the oracle.
Shamans and oracles are remarkably similar.
Yeah,
the
very
spirit
similar.
abilities of the shaman are, I think, almost identical in a lot of ways to the mysteries of an oracle. They're
Yeah,
very
they're-
similar.
very similar. They don't get a curse though, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. They don't have a
And
curse.
that's the one big difference that I can think of off the top of my head. Oracles
Yep.
all get curses.
That's the one reason I've never been able to successfully build an oracle.
Sammy in the chat, Josh says, "Crimit." I see what you did there, Josh.
That's not Josh's.
Crimit's not Josh.
No,
No,
that's not me. That's not me.
We'll get to
Let's
that.
move into that. Let's go to that.
Springboard to my Gripply.
Oops.
Yeah.
There you go.
My bad.
So I did look back through the chat here to see what I originally rolled. So for my races, I got a Gripply, Ratfolk, and an Elf.
Oh my gosh, those are so cool.
So I did not. I already have an Elf. I didn't want to play a boring core race, so I had to do Gripply. I didn't know what Gripply was until I think one of our campaigns we did, Sarah. You had mentioned about Gripply just from something, and I'm like, I just knew I had to play because it was a frog character or frog.
Well,
race.
I had actually created a Gripply cleric of Caden Kalian for Ironfang back in the very beginning, and he's not going to be. I scrapped him, but Gripply are hilarious. So I was excited when you rolled a Gripply, let alone a Gripply gunslinger. Oh, sorry.
Well,
Go
so
ahead.
then
It's okay.
Poor Josh.
Anyway,
It
yeah.
pales in comparison to
Surprise.
how awful I was to you, Sarah. Last
then,
session last week, I still apologize a million times.
Well,
I'm
see,
sorry
the thing about sorcerers is that you really have to remember.
It's like Josh.
Come on,
really?
man. Come on,
Josh.
man.
Sorry. Go ahead, Brandon. On with your.
So
I'm sorry to
that
interrupt,
was my
Brandon.
race, and then for the classes, I had a sorcerer, inquisitor, and a unchained barb. So I knew Jason was already doing a blood rager, so I didn't feel like doing a barb on top of that. So either I had sorcerer, inquisitor, which sorcerer I have in the Runelord campaign, a level 8, well now a level 8 wizard. So I didn't really feel too keen, even though I know they're different. I didn't really feel like playing another
Arcane.
arcane class. So then I had the Inquisitor, which I dabbled a little bit. That's when we did Jason's homebrew, where we knew more than Josh's module, but still not as much as we know now. So I was leaning toward that, and then Sarah's like, you know what? I'll let you get a reroll on the bar because that was my first class I played with Josh's campaign was Karzan, the handicap orc, which was nobody enjoyed that.
No, we just don't talk about it. I enjoyed it.
I thought he was fun, but I'd like to bring him back, loincloth and all. But anyway, so I re-rolled that, and that's where I got the gunslinger, and I chose that. And then shortly after there, Sarah let me know that Jason also rolled a gunslinger and said that he wasn't playing that because it was really underwhelming at low levels after I selected it. So I felt really confident about my choice at that point.
Well, speaking of, let's just for context, I'm pretty sure I remember this, and this might be a lie, but Sarah, didn't you at one point say you would never, under any circumstances in your life, allow a PC to play a gunslinger in one of your campaigns? Like you said, no. Not happening.
I probably did.
Yeah.
And I put Gunslinger on this chart, not realizing that not one, but two people would roll to get Gunslinger in their options. And I'm thinking,
No. It's not even that. It's not even that. I rolled Gunslinger in my first set. Brandon rolled Gunslinger in his first set. My backup set also has Gunslinger as one of the options.
it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I think I only had like maybe 2 numbers for that option.
No,
I don't
think it was
remember.
1 to 5.
To be
Oh, was
fair,
it that much?
It was 5% chance, yeah.
I have a suspicion that the Gunslinger. I mean, you're not multi-classing past level 5, so you're not really going to get into some of the stupidly broken, janky builds that you can make with it. You're going to have standard progression. The against touch AC is going to be nice, but it's no different than an Alchemist bombs. You know, the damage is going to be a little higher, but I mean, really, the AOE damage on an Alchemist is better. These lower levels, it's not going to shoot up ahead. It's still going to have one of the chief qualities of the class is that really swingy style of luck where you're either really good or really bad, but it's not going to be broken, which is good. So I think of all the times you could take a chance and allow the class to exist in your campaign, this was the best scenario.
Yeah, so Sarah let me do that. Or she told me if I could roll 101 on a 100-sided die, she'd let me do a chained summoner, because I've always asked about doing that.
No, that's another one. And I, to this day, never chain summoner. So Gunslinger, yeah, I caved on that. But chain summoner, not a chance. Unchained,
Why
sure.
can't I play 2 characters? Yeah, I think that's
You
completely
can.
reasonable.
Just play the Unchained Summoner.
I totally know what the
Exactly.
difference is between a chained and an unchained character. I definitely know what that means.
Unchained, basically, they looked at original classes and made a lot of changes to them and basically made these unchained versions, which are now recognized in society play as like the regular version of the classes.
Okay.
And most of them were making them, you know, a little bit more viable. So the rogue, for one, you know, example, is much better as unchained than chained. Summoner, they had to nerf because the chain summoner is way too powerful. So they had to nerf it quite a bit, and that's why Brandon always jokes that he wants to play a chain summoner just because I won't let him play a chain summoner.
They're in a
It was
weird...
back from Jason's game when we were
Yeah.
talking about making characters at the beginning. So I was like looking through, saw the summoner, I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I started like spending a few hours researching it because I was still new to Pathfinder. So it's like trying to read all the rules, and I spent hours like trying to figure out how I'd plan this character. And I talked to Jason, but he's like, "Oh, you gotta do Unchained though." I was like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" And I looked, I'm like, well, "This is stupid. This is boring. I don't want to do this one now." So then I switched to something else. So now I always want to try to do a Chain Summoner, and then it will never happen now after listening to the GCP podcast that you have with the Summoner in that one. Or
No,
Yeah.
no,
to-
do they have a summoner in their on one of their ongoing
In
things?
their Rise of the Rune Lords one they're
Oh,
going
yeah.
through. Mhm.
Rise
So
of
I
the
don't
Lords
know
has a I think he's a chained summoner.
I
To be
think so.
fair,
He's insane.
the chained and unchained classes are interesting because some, like you said, are a straight buff, some are a straight nerf, and some are weird. Some kind of you'd be better off depending on what you wanted to do with the character.
Well, Yeah, so the rogue and the unchained rogue. So the unchained rogue was flatly better.
in
There is
every
nothing
way.
about the unchained rogue that I know of that is worse than the original rogue, unless there's a specific archetype you want that maybe doesn't fit, but I think most of them do. Summoner was a straight nerf.
Yeah,
I don't think they got anything better.
that class needed help.
The Unchained Barbarian is arguably a lateral movement, or horizontal, not lateral.
Horizontal, lateral
Is
laterals right? Yeah, laterals right.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that it's not more or less powerful necessarily. They just changed how the class worked so that you weren't immediately prone to death at all times.
I will say one of the biggest things is it made it easier for inexperienced players to pick up a barbarian, I would probably say, because barbarians are not difficult to play, but like you said, they can get themselves in trouble really easily.
Yeah.
And they made them a bit more survivable.
Yeah. The way the original version of Rage went is that when you went unconscious, you'd drop out of Rage and your extra hit points that you gained would disappear. So let's say you're at 1 hit point, you get hit for like 12 damage, you're now at negative 11, your con's 12,
Oh,
and let's say you're 4th level, you just lost 8 more hit points because you lost your Rage,
oh,
and now
shoot.
you're dead. So they changed that so that rage gives temporary hit points, and so all of Ironfang Nyari was getting temporary hit points, which
Which
go
it
away
should have been
first.
at the beginning. I'm surprised that's not how the rule was, but whatever.
Yeah. And then as for the monk, I think generally speaking, the monk is. It's also probably lateral, but I'd say probably the Unchained Monk is better. It is slightly better.
It's slightly
They
better.
don't have as good saves, but they have a better hit die. Their to hit is better with how Flurry got changed. Stuff like
And
that.
it might be boring to talk rules, but I find this stuff really fascinating. To explain why the Barbarian is a little bit of a lateral movement, not just the temp HP, like the whole class gets slightly reworked. More things are changed and shifted around. The core class feature about Rage is it became I can't remember, a typed bonus to your attack and damage.
Yeah, it's just a flat bonus. It's not
Right.
a bonus to your strength
Whereas
and con.
historically, it used to be a bonus to your strength and con. So there are some builds, like high strength builds, that could technically still benefit from getting that strength value as high as possible, because that means it works on skill checks and other things like that. Whereas your rage with the Unchained version only will work in combat. So that's why you have some of that lateral movement, even though one's technically better a little bit. You might still prefer one or the other, depending on what you want to do with the character build.
And they also changed it from a morale bonus to being just a untyped.
Oh,
which
untyped, which is
allows
better.
you to,
A lot
because
better.
originally you couldn't stack it with, because I don't know
Heroism.
what spells give morale bonuses to strength and con.
Heroicism.
Heroism gives it to your attack, your saves, and your what other thing? I can't
That's a bit of a
remember.
joke because
Damage.
in Rune Lords, Josh's bard casts heroism a lot, and every time it's heroicism, and we have to
Heroicism.
correct him. So
Yeah.
heroicism is not a spell, but heroism is a spell. Anyway, back to you, Brandon. Sorry for the
What a
I
long
forgot
going off the
Yeah.
rails there.
So
You have a grip.
yeah, Krimmit there, Krimmit, the red eye marsh croaker. He So I mean, just kind of go through. Well, and so funny thing, if we're going to talk about size of your character, so I looked it up. I didn't realize, even though Gripply were small, that they're that small, because they are a base 1 foot 9 inches. So I was looking at the random height and weight. So I rolled for additional modifiers to see how tall I could really get him. I'm sorry, the base height is 1 foot 7 inches, and I rolled 2 1s. So my guy's 1 foot 9 inches. Then I looked at his base weight, which was 25 pounds, and then you also roll 2d4 and add more pounds on top of that. I rolled 2 3, so I got 6s. So I was like, he's gonna be a little chunker, so I had to scale that back because I didn't want a little fat frog. So
He's got a pot belly.
oh yeah, I was like, no, because I know
Bullfrog.
my 8-year-old is definitely higher than 2 feet, and he only is 40 some pounds. So I was like, man, a little tubby frog here. So
That's
did
awesome. He's a bullfrog.
yeah, but kind of in a nutshell, Krimmit was born and lives near the Mana Wastes, and
There's Krimmit again.
yeah. So he does. What's that?
I was letting the stream
He's showing your
know
picture.
Oh,
what
yeah.
Krimmit looks like. What race is he again? We have a question in the chat from T for
Gripply.
Goblins.
So, yep, Gripply race, and then so basically, his kind of story in a nutshell is, his family has always been kind of the engineers of their kind of village. Fixing, the village in and of itself. They gather supplies and help fix tools and everything for them, and that's kind of their place where you were born, and you just kind of fell into the role of your parents. Well, he of course wants more. But he liked it, when they traveled, because he got to listen to bards talk about their tales, and there was a favorite hero of his called Deadeye Hickok, and he was a deadly gunslinger that brought a lot of the land, so he always wanted to be a gunslinger. And then coincidentally, he found some schematics in his family's home of a new kind of variant of a weapon, and basically went out and made it, and doesn't want to go back home until he ends up becoming a very renowned gunslinger of his own. So
Ooh, I
he
like
is
that.
going out to the new land to see if what he can do. I can tell you, it's probably not going to end well for him, but we'll see.
I think it's funny
Oh
because
man,
I was
Go ahead.
gonna say it's funny because Brandon came to me and he said, So basically the premise of this module is these characters are coming to this new settlement in Sargava called Priden's Hearth. And he said, oh, maybe my character can go become the sheriff of this new settlement. And I giggled and said, well, they kind of already have a sheriff, and she's kind of an important NPC, so we'll see.
Well, I just asked if I could be the deputy then at that point, so we'll see what's gonna happen. But no, I think it'll be fun, for level 1 to start with him. I'm planning on trying to play him almost kind of bad in the beginning, and I'm hoping that over time, as he actually levels, he'll become better and better, when it comes to combat and things. So I'm probably going to purposely play him bad in the beginning.
Morally bankrupt or bad tactically?
Tactically. So, yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see.
He's a naughty frog.
Yeah, he's totally lawful evil. Just kidding.
I mean, he does come from Nex, so...
Yeah, I mean, you never know with them from Nex and all.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I gotta say, that was my first time hearing about your character's backstory. I love that. It's so amazing. It reminds me of like Rono Azoro, like One Piece, striving to be the strongest swordsman.
I just pictured your character like walking up to Miyabi and be like, "Oh, hi there, friend. Check out this Glock."
as soon as I knew we were doing a frog, I was like, I gotta be Crimit.
What kind of gun does he use? Because I think Blunderbuss is probably like the stereotypical like icon that I have in my head for like a gun wielding frog person. But what'd you end up going with?
Shotgun?
Yeah, a Blunderbuss.
Whoa.
No, he's got a pistol. That shotgun would probably make my character fall on his butt every time.
Every time he shoots it,
he actually is also archetype into gun scavenger. So kind of one of the neat things with that is I can put special components in my gun that'll kind of give it some temporary bonuses, so I can increase its range increment to be able to shoot farther using that touch attack. I can give it a scatter shot bonus, and I can also, which I probably would never do, increase it so I can pistol whip some outlaws. But,
Nice.
but
very well done.
basically, for anybody who doesn't know, with the gunslinger, from my limited knowledge researching it, is there's a misfire chance. So as you go to shoot, you have a chance where your gun can clog and break, and you have to try to fix it. This specific archetype, every time I successfully shoot, increases the misfire chance the next time. So it will eventually just break, but then it allows me to put a new component on every time it does that. So it's basically geared to break on purpose at some point.
Oh, really? And do you get any like benefit when it breaks, or is it just bad?
No, because so when it breaks, it's similar to the other gunslinger where I can spend an action to fix it, but it allows me to put a different component on. So depending on what I need, because normally I would have to spend one of my grip points to change the component, but this allows me just to change it after it breaks. So there's could be situations where I actually want it to break.
That'll be so fun to do in game, because we haven't had anybody. I haven't played in a game where somebody has like grit, or we had one where we had panache points, but it's very fun. I think class features where you have like basically I think hero points for our game that we played, but you have a guaranteed allotment of them per day that you can gain and lose by doing different things that are like predefined, and then you can spend them to do cool stuff. And the gunslinger is one of those that takes advantage of that style of class feature, and it's very, very, very cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I mean, I haven't played a gunslinger yet, and I had to research it a lot, like how to craft and make your own special ammo, and then there's different types of ammo and cartridges, so it's a little out there. But I just made a backup character for Sarah's game, Ruin Lords, that was a swashbuckler, higher level one, but I spent a lot of time researching that, so the panache and grit are similar in nature, so I had a really good understanding of that piece. It was mostly just how the weapon actually works.
And that's one of the things with the gunslinger at low levels is it's a very expensive class, because you can actually get it down to like a free action to reload with alchemical cartridges, but I think each alchemical cartridge is like 6 gold. So that's expensive.
The gunslinger has they get a feat automatically at first level where they can craft their ammunition cheaper. It's like for 10% of the cost. So I think it's 1 gold, 1 silver, like almost per bullet, so it can add up. Cartridges you could do for cheaper price, but it's definitely costly more than your typical archer and arrows, and
Right.
you can't recover bullets in this. There might be a feat or something later, but once you shoot it, it's gone. So.
That's the biggest thing. Arrows, not only do you have the chance of recovering them, which you don't have at all with a bullet, obviously. Gunslingers are very rare in the Pathfinder world. Like, they're not just PC classes. There's other gunslingers that exist, but they're not nearly as prevalent as archers or things like that. So even if you're looting and scavenging and finding improvements, you're not going to find written into the APs so much support for the gunslinger. You're going to have to go out of your way, and a lot of that comes out of your cash and your wealth by level, or whatever you're able to find in the adventure. And like Jason's saying, it can get very expensive very quickly. Just a few encounters that had a big tax, it'd be like a regular character using 2 or 3 or 4 consumables every single fight. Which adds up a lot.
So taking donations, gentlemen.
Well, speaking of donations, I just want to say Miyabe is very suggestible, and he always helps people in need. So if you so much as asked him, he'd probably give you his money.
I can just pretend you stepped on me. You couldn't see me because I only come up probably to your shin.
I love how you constantly play characters, Jason, who have no material attachments whatsoever.
You can't separate that part of him from the game.
Yeah, no, it always leads through. Like Shen.
Shen Lao.
Was literally a Buddhist monk. Just didn't.
Yeah,
care.
well, I was this tempted to go with a vow of poverty for him, but that was a bit too much.
That would be a bit too much. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I am noticing a trend.
That's an interesting
it comes up in a
question.
lot.
Is there any part of your own personalities that you find is incredibly hard to not carry over into your roleplay characters?
Clearly,
or vice
I find
versa?
it hard
Do you find it any particular character traits or character types that you find it's really hard to play as?
I think obviously it's hard to remove my heroic nature from my characters, but that's kind of the point. So
Yeah, Vindel was a super heroic character, wasn't he?
Beating up old ladies.
Hiding around the corner using the Cure Light Wounds wand all to himself.
I didn't almost did
Yeah,
that with Veld.
I'm gonna let other people take this question while I dip out for a bit. I got food to eat, but you can come around to me eventually. Great question, Andrew. Great question.
I think for me, I can't separate my love of animals from my characters.
Unless it's turtles.
It just, turtles. It never came up though. But also, I consider myself in real life to be lawful good, and I do struggle with playing characters that are more chaotic and act more about themselves and make decisions that are about themselves, because I have a hard time doing that in real life. So that's something that I try to explore a little bit more, is making decisions that would go against what I would probably do if I were in the game personally.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Justin?
I try to avoid tropes that I have in real life. I think like Orin that we've played with, not like me at all.
Except for maybe being occasionally grumpy.
Except for occasionally being grumpy. So I'm sure pieces of it are. For my character for Ire of the Storm, it'll actually be the first time that I'm role-playing a semi-southern-like character. So that'll be kind of similar to me. I mean, while I don't have a natural southern accent, I did grow up in the South, and so, I'm gonna be pulling in some of those tropes.
Ooh,
sure.
I'm excited to hear that.
I did just see the picture you put in for your character.
Yep. So that's what I'm planning on doing. So I could jump into that a little bit.
What did you roll for your options?
Yeah, so my options, I actually got some really exciting ones. I got Elf, not as exciting, Tengu, and Fetchling, which after some serious debate between the Tengu and the Fetchling, I decided to go with the Fetchling. And then for my class options, I know I had rolled cleric, and I re-rolled that since I had just played a cleric in our Nermathus campaign, our Ironfang Invasion campaign. But I got wizard. Oh, what did I get for class?
Oh, I had just looked it up.
I got wizard.
Also, I should say that, Justin, you did originally roll a dwarf, and you had cleric, and you were like, Orin 2.0.
2.0. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did. I did get a dwarf cleric on my first roll, and I was like, cool, my sheet's already done. I'm just going with Orin.
I mean, I don't know why you have to go Orin. You could have just played Kining.
Right? Oh, that's true. I could have.
Oh, that would have been.
Oh my gosh!
God.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been fun.
That would have been really fun.
Except
I
it'd be in a
didn't think
different
about
place
that.
of the world. So like, is Kining like this reincarnated being that just comes in with different bodies into different, like her soul just is.
Why do you have to? Why you got to poke holes? Why you got to poke holes?
You don't
Why
know
can't we
what she
just have
did
fun?
before she
You don't know
moved
what she
to
did before she got to
Nermathus.
Narmathus.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
maybe she was in the jungle. She had a rough life. All right.
Fair enough,
Maybe
fair
she's
enough.
actually an 8th level character.
She's
Right.
just like,
And we just
if it
don't know
bleeds,
that.
we can kill
And
it.
maybe she's so evil, she doesn't tell us how strong she is, so she doesn't have to do anything. So
Right. So yes.
Okay, Justin, I found it. You rolled Blood Rager and Swashbuckler, along with so you did Blood Rager, Swashbuckler, and I think Cleric originally. And when you re-rolled Cleric, that's when you got
I
Wizard.
got wizard. Yeah.
Yep.
So then I got wizard. So I was really between swashbuckler or wizard. And then when I got into it, I was like, well, if I do fetchling, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that they would be a swashbuckler, because in my mind, a swashbuckler equates to like a pirate, you know? And so I was like, I don't know how many fetchling pirates there are. That seems unlikely. And so reading with the fetchlings, I was like, okay, so wizards kind of common for them. Sorcerers more common, but certainly wizards aren't uncommon among them. The Tengu I thought about, but like I thought it would be hard to roleplay because like I instinctively would want to put chirps and like ticks into my speech since they're technically bird people. And so I was like, I would want to do that, and I feel like that would be really difficult to pull off, like to be speaking and then chip, chip, and like making sounds.
In
and
bird
stuff.
culture, this is considered a jerk
Also-
move.
Also, I'm really glad I didn't, because could you imagine the awkward dynamic between a bird person and a frog person in a group together? Because like the Tengu kind of look like crane-like.
They're bird-like, yeah. And
Yeah,
just think if we had like a cat folk or a rat folk too, what if you all were like
Right.
animal people and you just show up at this new settlement and they're like, whoa.
Game of
Whoa.
Noah's Ark. Yeah.
A kitsune,
Well,
fox person, a cat folk,
Kitsune.
a rat folk, a tengu, and a gripply.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's like the
Players
beginning
there.
of a bar joke.
Yeah.
I'll walk into a city.
You know,
Um,
speaking of the animal voices, though, after I realized I was going to play the Ripley, I told Sarah that I probably spent a solid hour on YouTube looking up National Geographic videos of frogs and frog sounds to practice those. So,
See? Yeah.
it was-
Yeah, see, so you had the same consideration I did, that I was like, if I'm playing an animal type person, I'm going to want to put some of that like sound into what I'm doing. And honestly, I just didn't think, me personally, I didn't think I'd commit to that. And
Well,
I was like,
I tried thinking of it for me where, like, and we'll see how it actually comes out, but I guess in my mind, my character will croak and make sounds when he gets, like, nervous. So it's
Oh,
going to be
okay.
like his twitch. So he's not going to do it all the time, but I think as a party, you'll understand him when he's making the sounds, how he feels.
right.
You can see how that acts out with other NPCs, especially if we're trying to bluff. You know, because my charisma's
yeah.
trash, and I start croaking. You guys are gonna know that I'm bluffing without having to roll, but will the NPCs, you know?
Right.
We'll
Or
see,
anytime
we'll see.
anytime we send you out to scout, if we just hear croaking, we'll be like, oh, something's wrong.
Oh yeah,
Something's
good-
wrong.
there
He's
you
about
go.
to die.
He doesn't need a signal whistle. You just listen for the croaks. Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's
So-
an interesting point you brought up, though, Justin, about like you weren't sure. You felt it would be difficult to play that particular race because of a conception that you had about it, or sometimes I feel that way about like Tengu is a good example. they have a unique culture in Pathfinder and Galarian lore that like I'm not sure I could be the best one to play that.
Right.
One time I had an elf, and I actually forgot he was an elf because it was such a small part of his character when it really should have been a central focus of
Right.
how he interacted in the world.
I think we
Yeah.
all forgot that he was an elf.
Yeah,
I thought he
Yeah,
was a
no.
half elf until like 5th level.
yeah, and then I found out that he wasn't, and I was like, wait a minute, what?
So,
So yeah.
yeah, so what I decided to do was wizard, and since Brandon so graciously said he wouldn't mind if I also was kind of a gunslinger type, I decided to pick spellslinger for my guy, and
That's
what I
cool.
kind of have in mind is a wizard cowboy. Is kind of what I have in mind.
There he is in all his glory on the stream.
Does he
I
have a horse?
see. I haven't decided yet. I kind of really want him to have a horse, but I haven't decided if he will have one or not.
Spellbook
And
did you
on
say
his
his name?
hip.
I have not yet. So his name's gonna be Abner Calhoun, and yes, he
Love
is
it
going
so
to. He is going to speak like that through the entire thing because that's my southern accent, and so that's what I'm going to use. So yeah, he's going to be a spell slinger, so he's going to be a wizard with a gun. Nothing more horrifying than a man that can sling magic and shoot you.
Or a frog that can shoot you.
Or a frog that can shoot
Yeah.
you.
So basically, I went from saying I would never allow a gunslinger to now having essentially
Functionally, too.
two
Yeah.
gunslingers in my group. So
1.5.
I'm
I feel
already
like-
regretting my life
Yeah,
choices.
one and a half. I'm not fully a gunslinger.
You know,
so
Well, I'm not
wonder
either. So we got one between the two.
one.
Yeah.
You allowed one between the two of us.
Yeah,
I wonder
fair
if
enough.
there's a shaman archetype that allows me to have like a holy gun or something.
We all should have gotten guns. Jason,
Josh.
shoot roll.
If you changed your shaman and went with paladin, there is an
There-
archetype that you could do that with
There's a paladin archetype that gets a holy gun.
Seriously, you're like, I don't want to play anymore.
One day I will, because I'm going to build a character based off of somebody from Trigun.
Hmm.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
What's his name? Wolfwood? Yes.
Wolfwood is the one with the giant cross.
Yes, and he has a cross that he carries, and the name of the gun is Mercy. And one of these days, I will play a paladin who
That's
wields Mercy.
hilarious.
Well, I was thinking the only thing worse than having like a party of gunslingers would be having a party of characters with the animal companions. I can't imagine. And I was so afraid that with rolling that might happen. And I was thinking, I'm going to have to modify this adventure.
No,
If
the-
there's like 6 to 8, different entities that are fighting, these combats are going to take an entire session to get through.
It's just
Right?
called the Zookeepers module.
Right.
All of the
This is
animals.
the give Sarah gray hair module.
I would love to play a homebrew campaign where all 4 PCs are just like zookeeper type, like safari expeditioners all with their own animal companions, and they're just like exploring the safari. I would love that.
There's a
I
couple of
wanna
classes
know
that you could get it to work. I think I even saw on some Pathfinder forums where they made like Pokemon, like Pocket Monster classes as a theme, using like the Summoner, like a couple of other ones that you could have. You could definitely do that Safari theme and have like the animal be the main class, like in the person just a backdrop. You can kind of switch the roles around a little bit. So take Theros' character, for example. You could make Volus more the one you're like more the front loaded portion of a class. There are ways to do that.
For sure.
Man, after hearing everyone's characters and like do we have a backstory for Abner?
Yeah, so I'm kind of working on that a little bit. So I am gonna have him come from Shadow Absalom
Ooh.
as his
Classic.
original city. Yeah, classic
Okay.
for a fetchling.
Yeah.
I think the way that I'm gonna play him is that he's actually more of a merchant than anything. That he wants to get rich. So he is going to be lawful neutral in his alignment, which I think will be good. Reading about that Shadow Absalom, that's a really cool story. I want to see if there's more information on that, because like they're ruled over by an umbral dragon that like
Yep.
she's not necessarily evil in that she just like she's like trade's the most important thing. Like as long as you don't disrupt trade, it's fine. But like if you disrupt trade, you die.
The shadow plane is a very interesting place in that it's a distorted version of the material plane, and
Right.
travel is so distorted. Like there's spells even that you can cast them, and it's basically teleportation. Like you're going into the shadow plane, walking
Yeah.
a couple feet, and then coming out miles away on the material plane.
Right. And so I figured that's one way that it wouldn't be difficult for like to explain why he's down in that area is trying to establish a new trade route kind of thing with that new town. Kind of like cornering a market, you know, being like, hey, there's cool stuff that they might have at this new colony, or the new colony might be willing to buy stuff from him. So he's looking to try and like scout that out, find a new trade route for Shadow Absalom so that he can. Go ahead.
I love that. It's so good.
Does
So I gotta flesh that out.
Does he happen to, and not saying that this should change your character, but does he worship anyone like Abadar? Like Abadar's huge on trade and
Yeah, so that's actually I already have that in his character sheet. Abadar
Nice.
is what I chose for him as his god because I was like, okay, lawful as long as he's lawful. And you know, if he's really interested in mercantilism and money and trying to become a trader, then that just seems like a natural progression for him. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I love you decided to go lawful neutral as well for the merchant, you know, because at the end of the day, it's the dollar that's important to him.
Right.
But I love the lawful aspect because I played a venture capitalist actually in a Starfinder campaign. He was part of the Starfinders, and he had gone out looking to do exactly what you're doing: establish new trade routes, set up connections, and build like a multi-corporation empire. I think it's so fun to play with that lawful neutral thing, where like you're gonna follow the rules, but you're not particularly guided by moral considerations. You know,
Right.
so you'll strike a deal and you'll honor the deal, but what you agreed to do may or may not be good, and I like
Right.
having freedom with your characters. It
Well,
made a really good dynamic.
That was really cool, like a little piece of the lore, the background. Like Abadar technically honored a deal with the guy that like the
Yeah.
god of the shadow plane, you know, he was like, I don't really want to do this, but I made a deal, so I have to honor it, and like honored it and allowed I don't remember the guy's name,
Zon Kuthan.
Zon
Zon.
Kuthan.
Kuthan
Oh
allowed
my
him to
God.
ascend because technically he made a deal with him, and so he honored it, and I was like, that's pretty cool.
He's one of
I-
the creepiest
Oh
guys.
my
yeah,
God.
he's weird.
So-
my god!
I
That agreement, he got out of that on a loophole. Just saying.
Right.
Because the
I mean,
agreement was
the
that he
Earth's
would be
fall,
imprisoned
right.
until the sun stopped or whatever. And
the
then
Earth's
when
fall
the Age
happened.
of Darkness came, Zon
Right.
Kuthan's like, hey, guess
Technically,
what?
he's not wrong. Technically, he's not wrong. The sun
I-
wasn't shining.
I love Zon Kuthan. I think he is fascinating. He has got such great lore, and his relationship with Shaylin is fascinating. And just a quick plug for anybody that's listening, check out Tower of Tomes on YouTube. They put out some fantastic lore videos, and they have one on Nidal. And Zon Kuthan worship is huge in Nidal, and that video
I'm
is so
getting
well
chills
done.
about it right now. It is
Yeah.
actually so good. They've got some fun voice acting, great delivery of
Mhm.
really concrete, accurate lore information. Great inspiration if you're looking to build a character in the Pathfinder universe and are looking to pull on some of the existing lore in the world. Great resource, absolutely.
And they
And
have videos on Nirmathos and Molthun as well. So for
They
Ironfang
do.
Invasion,
Yeah.
Jason actually let us watch both of those. They didn't have any spoilers, except the one at the very end, but that was just for the beginning of the campaign. So that's
Yeah.
well and done. But
Actually,
Yeah.
where I got Elwood's Malthun voice came from the Imperial Army. The voice that he does in that video. That's where
Oh,
it was
that's
made
neat.
from.
I
Yep.
can see it now that you say
Yeah.
that. I didn't put that together at first, but I can see that now.
I can't go back into it, but
Aw,
Elwood did
Elwood.
have two accents. The last wall, which was kind of like this deeper,
Hmm.
kind of off a bit, but you could tell he was masking a Malthuni voice, which was that I was really proud of that. It took a lot of work, but it's because of that Tower Tones video that I had some reference to base it off of.
All that work,
Yeah.
and then he is lost after 5 sessions.
Oh, it was worth it for the
Oh,
story,
you
though. It was a good story.
Have
Yeah.
no idea how much Josh went back and forth on. At one point, the build was going to be like a triple archetyped, triple class
Yeah. No.
abomination of a character.
So Elwood,
Oh.
Elwood, I had this amazing theory for, and I just could not get the mechanics to work until finally we found out of the villain codex, Jason, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember.
A really obscure archetype, like, and it fit perfectly because I wanted him to be like an inspirational leader, but he wasn't a bard, you know. And mechanically speaking, fighters are kind of not inept, but they're not great at being charismatic with their main skills, and anything that you devote to that, you're kind of hindering your effectiveness in combat, which I'm all for. I love, you know, taking an intentional hit for the sake of flavor, but I didn't want to be worthless. And I did find some really cool prestige classes that I could move into, and some really cool multi-classes. The Cavalier seemed like a really cool option, but he took the most time out of session of any character I've ever built, ever, to get to work and fit the concept really, really well, in both mechanics and story, and back and forth with Jason, setting all of that up. So that is why tears were shed when he died in the third. And because I knew going in that he had a very. I even told Jace, I think it's about between 50 and 70% chance that he just dies because he would because of what I knew, a choice I knew he would make. So.
And I believe you're right. I think it was in the villain codex that one.
Yeah.
That archetype was.
Beautiful archetype. Seasoned veteran or veteran?
Seasoned
general?
commander.
Seasoned commander. Absolutely amazing archetype. If you're looking to build a character or just love reading weird Pathfinder stuff, check that one out. That archetype's really cool, and it can let you play the inspirational leader who also is very competent on the front lines.
Yeah.
So we have our party for Ire of the Storm. One thing I wanted to mention that I don't forget, and this will come up again, is I am excited because we're going to start using Sirenscape for our sound. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge for me at first because I'm the one that will be handling that. So GMing and trying to get the sounds might be a bit of a work in progress, but that's also why we have this module so that we can play around with things, and then when we get back to Ironfang, hopefully I will be a master of the Sirenscape and able to flawlessly change sound sets and immerse you into the world.
Yeah, we will be switching some roles on the show too, actually, from behind the scenes stuff. I'll be the one, if I'm not mistaken, who will be actually the streaming and running that portion of the software. Jason, I assume, I haven't asked him yet, but I'm assuming he'll take care of, like, sometimes we have rules that we need answered between rounds and turns, and I'm pretty sure I'll pass that over to him.
I'll be looking up rules and also tracking XP after encounters because we're going to try doing XP.
Oh yeah, we're going to try XP.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention that with this module. Something that I've never done before. I don't think any of us have done. And formally in our groups that we've done, we've never actually used XP for leveling. We've always gone by the milestone leveling in the books, which works and it's great, and it takes the math out of doing it. But also, you know, why not? Why not try it in this module? And Jason and I have been listening to a podcast where they do it, and they make it seem pretty easy. So Jason's going to be keeping track of the XP and then letting everybody know that happy moment when you guys get to level up.
It is very fun. I have done it once, so I'm not going to speak too much because I don't want to spoil the experience. But it is, it's a lot of fun to kind of watch that. Ooh, we're at 900 XP out of 1,000, you know. And you know, next encounter you're going to get that level up, and it's really exciting because you can kind of roll that momentum into your next encounter. You tend to have a level or two prepped ahead of time, whereas with milestone leveling, I don't tend to bother too much unless it's a specific build that I'm trying to make sure goes a particular path. But it's a lot of fun, so I'm looking forward to trying that out as well.
So, one thing, and we can go on to a different topic if you want, but you guys talking about your backstories, I feel like my summary wasn't sufficient to make Miyabe as cool as he is.
Oh yeah, take it away, man.
So I was just going to go some more details. So my idea was that the Bandu tribe in southern Gurund is known as a tribe of demon worshippers and slavers. So the whole idea was that Miyabe was conceived out of this dark ritual that the Bandu did, and his mother had no idea who his father was because of obvious the types of things that happened in the ritual. No idea who the father was. Same with any siblings that he had. And his birth name was Okoth, and I just made up this meaning as like meaning black death because his skin was charcoal black. And so the idea was that shortly after his mother Ijabara gave birth, she went on a raid against one of the other tribes, the Baso tribe. They were trying to get slaves and whatnot for their own purposes or to sell or whatnot. And because of her condition, she had gone on the raid so quickly after giving birth, she wasn't as fit as her kin when the raid failed, because the Baso are known as being athletic and very powerful in their own right. So she was actually captured instead, and she sold her own son as a way to get out of slavery. So Okoth was actually sold to the Baso tribe in order for her to go free, and he was renamed Miyabe, meaning protector, because the chief of the Baso was like, the Bandu are known as being like huge, intimidating, powerful warriors. I'll raise this guy as being like a warrior of this tribe to protect us instead. So he grew up in that tribe with distinctive features of the Bandu tribe, and everybody there knew it. And he was basically constantly reminded of his like demonic bloodline and all that, which is why he was constantly being pushed to help people. He had it drilled into him that the more he helped people, the less likely the demons were to like take over his blood and whatnot. And my idea was that the only 3 people in his tribe that he really had positive relationships was the chief, who I named Baholo, the tribal shaman, who I named Palesa, and if Josh wanted a different name, just change that in my backstory, or he could be like the apprentice of Palesa. I don't know. He hasn't finished that idea for his character yet, but currently I have the tribal shaman as being Palesa, and then the head warrior Tsui, and he was actually trained by Tsui. And so my whole idea is that, you know, he grew up being a protector of that tribe and constantly being drilled into him to help people. And that's why I wanted to go with the bludgeoner, is that he was told not to kill unless it was absolutely necessary. So against any sentient opponent, he's probably going to try to knock them out rather than kill them. I just really liked the I actually read the Sargava booklet a little bit about the different tribes, and I liked the interplay between some of those tribes, like the Bandu being slavers and the Baso and all the other ones there. So I kind of tried to craft him in. I didn't read too much else about the geography because I figured he wouldn't know it, but I liked that idea. And part of his intro to the campaign will hinge on Josh, because I thought he'd kind of be like the bodyguard for his tribal shaman, but we'll see how that goes.
I'm excited. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And the plan right now is to hit the ground running next Tuesday, the 23rd, I think is the day. And we will hopefully play through this module.
In one session?
No. No.
The 6 in one session.
No, that's not going to happen. But it will take over our Ironfang Invasion time slot for the next several weeks or however long it takes us to get through. And I am excited to see how the story goes with everyone and role playing their characters in this new setting, and see if I can somehow role play the NPCs fairly.
It sounds
Not
exciting.
sure.
As an outside observer like that, I'm excited to hear your guys' adventures.
Yeah, and I should point out, for those who have been listening to Ironfang Invasion, I do not anticipate this module being quite as dark as Ironfang Invasion is. Not a bad thing. Ironfang Invasion has been great, and the story is so immersive, and I've really, really enjoyed it. But this, I mean, not to say there's not dark elements in this, because I think the nature of a lot of these stories is, you know, overcoming evil and being heroes, and that lends itself to some dark things. But I think this is going to be a little bit, you know, easier to swallow than maybe some of the stuff that we dealt with, like
Not if I
the
have anything to say about it.
tent made out of flayed skin.
I don't know. Paizo's got this thing for the macabre. They really love cannibalism and
Torture.
human remains as decoration. That's like
Yes.
two things that show up in every AP I've ever played. It's not even mentioned in passing. It's like, yeah, this is here. You have to interact with this as a player character. Have fun. No, it's been lighthearted up until now, but
We just had that with Rune Lords.
yeah,
Yeah.
we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
And
like
Rise of the
how,
Rune Lords, there's some
couches,
dark stuff.
chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, even Rise of Rune Lords, which does not start out that dark. I mean, it's got sad moments, but it's not like scary
There's some
or
kind
dark.
of. I'm sure there's some lore stuff that we missed that probably would make it more dark than it was. But I mean, there was some.
I like the haunted house, but the haunted house felt like a haunted house.
Spoilers for Rise of the Rune Lords. Just
yeah.
putting it out there if you haven't played
Okay.
it, if you're currently playing it.
It's been out over a decade.
I know, but if somebody's going through book 1
Alright.
right now as a player, I don't want them to be like,
Alright.
oh, that's what happens in books 2
Oh,
and 3.
Yeah,
This is
totally
fair.
nothing happens. The darkest part of Rune Lords was Vindel anyway. So
So I do
that was
love
Josh's
our
character.
current composition of characters, though. I like the way that they all interact with the events of the story. Just to segue to Rune Lords for a bit, that's been pretty fun, and I'm excited. We have a game scheduled for this Friday, so
When you
forward for that.
when you say current characters, are you including Nick's now dead character?
No, he's dead. So
So just the 3 of us that are
Gosh.
still alive.
Yeah.
that
Okay.
was
No,
that was
he likes the party better without Nick apparently in it. We'll have to-
No, I love. I actually, this is the truth be told. I loved Nick's last character that he had brought to the table. I thought he was very interesting. So I was very sad to see him leave because
You're talking about Ox or Reginald? I'm still confused on which character.
Reginald.
Okay. Wait,
He's
so
gone
that's
through.
live. That's
Just for context, in Rise of the Rune Lords, the only player who has lost a character is Nick, and he's lost 2 of them now. 3 of them? 2?
Three.
Well,
Three,
now
two.
3. Now,
Now
3.
three. Now three.
technically 4 if you consider the animal companion as part of the other character. Then that would be
Yeah.
4.
I don't have anything against this guy. I
No,
don't.
it just gets the
It
bad
just-
luck.
It's roll of the dice, and it's just unfortunate. But
And he's always in the front, so
I
Yeah.
think you will enjoy his upcoming character. You
I'm
guys, that
excited.
will.
yeah, it's a pretty good one.
Oh, I haven't had any. insight.
So
It ties in with Vic in a bit, so I know some stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
very cool.
So I don't know, Andrew, if you wanted to. I thought I saw you getting ready. If you wanted to, go ahead and do your songs now, and we can wrap this up.
Sure, I can do that. I don't have guitar parts for all of these songs, so you'll just have to picture Ulrich just out somewhere doing his thing, and I gotta fix something visually on the stream.
While
real
he
quick,
sets that up, thank you everyone who joined us for the live stream today. If you're checking out or listening to us on Spotify, thanks for that. And welcome Brandon to the group. I am very, very excited to get back to Ironfang, but I'm also super excited for Ire of the Storm. So I think we got a lot of good coming.
Yep. So Tuesday nights, 6:30 Eastern on Twitch and YouTube, we will be streaming using Sirenscape for our audio, picking up using Roll20 for our maps and tokens, and hope to see you there and join us in this new module adventure.
On the up and up.
Oh yeah. Well, on that note, Ulrich will sing his farewells to you all for now, and I'll play any of the songs that I'll play a couple of the songs that have been written over the campaign as my goodbye to all you faithful listeners, all 2 of you.
We're getting more. I recruited somebody
Me
today.
being one of them.
Yeah,
And,
I recruited a good friend of mine.
and you guys.
Hopefully he'll catch up. And if so, shout out to you, Justin.
But
Different Justin.
one of the songs I wrote was during our adventures at Camp Redjaw, I think is what it was called. I don't remember. I wasn't there very
Yes.
long. But we endured much adversity, but we overcame. So allow me to sing you a song. Gather round, survivors, and hear of Aiden, Nyari, Oren, and myself. Where evil once stood, our heroes prevailed. The darkness withdrawn from our warriors' stage. They came rushing in, justice in hand. They sent the hobgoblins to the blood-soaken graves. Aiden the strong, Oops, nope. I missed. That's some dyslexia there. Aiden the brave, Nyari the strong, Orin the stalwart, and Orit the bard. The survivors of Phaendar rise up this day as the heroes of Nermathis leading the way. Something like that.
Amazing.
Again, I wrote that like in the middle of the session, so not as good as some of the others. But
Hey, wrote that in the middle of the session and then drops it in chat, right? If I'm not mistaken, as we were playing.
I feel like half the songs that he comes up with, he does in the middle of the session.
Well, the Nyari one.
the first two I
Yeah.
did not. The first two were done outside of session.
That's
But
true.
the Nyari one was in session, yeah. I gotta remember what the guitar chords were for these other ones.
Yeah, I'm very impressed, and spoiler alert, I'm actually considering making a bard for my character.
Thank God,
And
I got
Ironfang.
so used to that.
Yes.
And
entire
I am
thing.
totally not doing any of that. So, I'll have to think of something mildly creative that he can do, but no singing here.
just take performance dance.
Actually, I was thinking performance comedy. So
Actually-
just really bad dad jokes. That's what my character's from.
You'll riff really well with Frampton, actually. in the end.
Yep.
There's actually a cool archetype too, where you can write things down ahead of time or draw pieces of paper and hand them off. I'm looking for that too. That one's really fun.
I think I got it.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay, cool. This other song was written during the one recap, where Ulrit and Yosef are on their way to just throughout the woods to tell more stories and just to find some adventures. And Ulrit takes a moment to mourn the loss of his twin brother as it was his birthday, and he decides to sing one of his brother's favorite songs. And it's the inspiration for this just kind of came from reading lore on Tamrin and just exploring the story behind Ulrit. So I just kind of wrote this with some references to that, and anybody who knows some of the lore bits about that stuff, I guess might pick up on it. I don't know, but it was mostly just to play into the bard theme. Down the north bend, past the Morning Star fence, where the children doth play and the hooligans dance. That's where I saw her, a lady so fine, and in that fated moment, her eyes met with mine. And I needn't to know who or where she was from. She was a pathfinder and I was in love. But no lover's heart could ever tie down the heroine's spirit as she rode out of town. Away from the ashfall she faded from sight, leaving us stories and songs of her might. I'll never forget what I learned on that day. A world of adventures was calling my name. And that song kind of just like felt like the song that would need to be written for his brothers. Ulrit was never actually one to want to be an explorer or adventurer. His brother was, and but when his brother met an untimely death due to sickness, Ulrit felt compelled to like live that out vicariously for his brother. And that song, about going forth unto adventures, which felt just like something that would leave a lasting impression on him. So that's where the inspiration for that came from. And then finally, the
I
magnum
love the
opus.
lyrics to that one, though.
Thank you. You'll love the next one even more because it says magnum opus, the one that started it all, as a result of the loss of our dear friend and inspiration, Sir Elwood, and his sacrifice to save to save the survivors of Phaendar. I gotta remember the chords to this one too. I haven't played this since then. It was in a minor key, I'm pretty sure, because it's sad, you know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Nick would have a lot of songs sung about him.
You'd have 3 by now.
Let's see, what was it?
I go back and forth on whether I think Elwood's song is my favorite or the Ulrich's brother one, because they're both pretty good.
Oldest
Mhm.
brother, I think.
Elwood. Oof.
I think I favorite Elwood because of the connected story that we all shared. But the Ulrich, the one about his brother, it just makes me smile because it's got that, like, because it does kind of an Irish accent, and it's got that real good tune to it, you know. And it's so good.
Well,
So
and
talented.
plus the Elwood one was just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Andrew was like, "Hey, I've got something special planned." We're like, "Okay, cool." And then all of a sudden he comes on with the recap and that song, and we're like, "What? What is this?" It was awesome.
It was.
I'm not sure if this is right, but I'm just gonna sing it anyway. With a sword in his hand and his face to the sky, he fought with the blessing of the great Yomadai. It's not right, so I'm just gonna sing it without the guitar. With each mighty swing, his brave heart paved the way for the people of Phaendar to run and escape. 100 he vanquished, much evil he slew. I don't know about the math on that one really, but you know, embellish.
It was no. That's accurate from what I remember.
Hero of Nirmathis, so noble and true, and a Molthuni scum. For justice
Times have
and
changed.
freedom, his life carries on. For the spirit of Elwood will never be gone. And that's
Oh, yay!
You know, if you guys were doing leveling by experience, you probably would have out-leveled them being able to kill you in any good RPG. You would have enough leveled, went to max HP, and then you just kept going.
Well, it was that song that made Jason be like, hero point. He's like, I'm not doing hero points in this campaign. And he's like, I have to give him a hero point for that one.
And now I think we're phasing them out again.
Yeah, now I think we're like,
I mean-
no more hero points because Andrew
My-
got them all.
My standards for hero points are impossibly high, and it's got to be at that level at least.
Yeah.
Now that you say that, you almost have to keep hero points in there because I will strive to get one way or another.
Justin's
If you do
gonna
something
go
remarkable enough,
legitimately go stab
Don't tempt me.
someone like Frampton would in real life for the hero points. Like,
Hero point. You stabbed somebody today? Hero point.
Hero point.
that is some dedication to character.
he shows up with a
Yeah.
knife to Jason's throat. Come on.
Talk about method acting.
What?
Hero.
10 hero points.
Give me a hero point now.
Well, to everybody watching the stream or listening to the podcast later, it's been fun. Thank you for listening to my part in this story. Maybe you'll see me or hear me again someday. In the meantime, there's plenty of adventures to come with the rest of the party here. So on that note, say good night, everybody.
Have a good night. Thank
a
you.
Good night. Thank you for staying, joining, listening. Have a good one.
See you next week.
Yeah, see you next week.